Life Audio.
And I realized halfway through the pandemic, I was like, it's crazy how the same feelings that I get when I'm really pumped and excited and almost full of wonder is this sort of the same feeling that I have when I'm scared.
If you're feeling like you're too messed up to be loved, this podcast is about to change your mind. Hey, it's Amanda Carroll. Welcome to the Get Your Brave On podcast, episode 27, 5 Reasons Why You Are Perfectly Loved with Rachael Lampa. She started Christian music at 15, quit at 21, became a nanny, even sang backup for the Jonas Brothers, and now she's back and ready to share her story on why she left and what she wants you to experience through her new song, Perfectly Loved. I love how Rachael says that fear and wonder are related. Instead of wondering how bad things can get in your life, why not wonder how it will work out? Isn't that a lot better? If you're feeling trapped by your past and you are ready to move forward, you just need help in silencing your fears and learn how to get your brave on, then download my free Brave Life Planner. It's a step-by-step morning program to help you boot up your bravery to start your day. Download it for free at getyourbraveon.info and get ready to be inspired to live a more strong and courageous life with Rachael Lampa. I'm so pumped. I get to see Rachael Lampa on Zoom today. I'm so excited that you're on the podcast. Thank you for just saying yes to the Brave Babes.
I said yes, knowing a little bit about what kind of show I was going to be on, but now I'm like bursting with yeses.
Really? Oh, I'm really honored. Bursting with yeses. So I have like a ton of notes of things going on with you that probably half are true. Please forgive me if this is completely embarrassing.
No.
But I remember playing you on the radio when you
Yeah.
first started out at 15 years old. And I'm so excited that you're back.
Yes.
And I want to hear the whole story. The first thing I always love to ask on the Get Your Brave On podcast, you can answer this in 2 ways.
Okay.
I believe that bravery is contagious. And when you hear about somebody choosing bravery over fear, it makes you feel like you can do it too.
Yeah.
So what is either the bravest thing you've done lately or the bravest thing you've done in your life?
Oh
Which
my
one do you want to say? Do you have something? I know it's like I'm supposed to warm up, but why not? I say just go deep fast.
No, it's good. I love it. I'm all about diving in. I have a therapist for a husband, so I don't have a choice.
That is amazing. I have a therapist and not a husband, but that's okay. Which is why I have a therapist.
Very good. Yeah, you know what? You need it. You need a therapist for anything. So I support you. I love it. Oh my gosh. Bravest thing. I mean, okay, there's childbirth. There's always childbirth. That, but in a way, I didn't really get to choose that. In a way, I mean, at some point, the baby.
The baby has to come out. Yeah.
yes, exactly. Exactly. You know what? I think, I think the bravest thing, one of the bravest things, I can't say it's the bravest thing, was leaving my label when I was 21. So I signed my record deal and kind of started, doing music and being on the radio and on the road, when I was 14, 15. To me, that was just like no brainer. I was like, this is all I want to do. I want to get on a tour bus and travel the world and sing and talk about God and like learn from people and be around really awesome, godly, great people. So that was like, that was part of the deal. But what I didn't, realize was happening too was that, I was growing up on the road and I was, trying to kind of pull my identity from what was around me. And so eventually that kind of led to burnout because I wasn't pulling my identity from what was inside of me. Yeah. And I was, I was losing a sense of, what's God's voice, what's my voice, what's other people's voices. And so here I was like 21, like right when all of my friends were kind of starting to like figure out what they were going to be doing for their lives. I was like walking away from the thing that, I thought I'd be doing for my whole life. So I kind of just walked into my label with my older brother, no like lawyers or managers or anything. And I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this. I think I'm like, my mind is just blank. I needed a total reset. And so, as a 21-year-old, I don't even know if I registered that as brave. I just knew that God was speaking something really clearly to me. And that he said he really needed me to get off of this boat for a little while. And so, yeah, so I guess I kind of look back on my 21-year-old self, like lovingly, and saying like that was brave of you.
Yeah.
21-year-old.
It was incredibly bold. And I think we missed you.
Oh, well, thank you.
We missed you.
Yeah. I missed it. I missed everyone. And I think, that was another piece of it. That was just like, I didn't know what it was like not to be like, on stage or on, on a mic, like that's what was informing me on who I was, and that was a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those were your formative years that all those times that you were supposed to kind of find yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of finding it in other people and all of that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do during that time? Like I heard you like toured with some pretty big names that most people would know. Like you went background. Like why did you go background? When you were a foreground kind of woman.
I knew that I was still happy when I was singing. Like from the time I was like, I mean, literally my mom like has these tapes of me when I'm like 4 and 5 years old, like recording myself on my little recorder and like just lying. Like I would just be singing everything. I'd sing my books. I'd sing at dinner. Like I was just always singing. And that was like, I think truly like that was a way that like God like showed me what joy felt like, and I think immediately too, like that was how I spent time with God, like was just, just lying, oohing and ahhing,
It reminds me of that TikTok song, like I'm happy when I'm dancing, that song.
Oh my gosh,
it's like,
no.
And it's like for you, it's I'm happy when I'm singing.
Oh, that's so cute. I want to listen to that.
You should sing your version of that song.
Oh
yes,
gosh,
I'm going to send that to
my
you.
little guy.
Okay, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I love it. And so I think there was a lot of me that just wanted to return to that, to just the simplicity of like just oohs and ahs, no pressure, no expectation of like what, like writing a song or like presenting myself,
Okay.
I could just kind of support somebody, and still
like
do
less
what
pressure.
I love. Yeah, way less pressure. Spotlight is not on me. I just got to sing. I just got to sing with other people too, sing with other singers and like-minded people. And I got to tour with Jordan Sparks, and we were on the road with Jonas Brothers and Britney Spears for like almost a year, which was just so wild and so fun and beautiful. And like, I mean, honestly, the Jonas Brothers would put on a pretty good Bible study before every show. And I was growing a lot, even in that. And so there was, I think I was making space for like other things to like kind of plant, rather than me trying to plant all these things, and for God to just like kind of bring people and opportunities. And
I like that.
Yeah.
Like you needed to be fed.
Yes.
I was reading, I just did this thing. I should remember where this is in the Bible. I will look it up after this podcast and I will put it in the notes.
Yes, you will.
But it was about how God plants us in his own garden. Like how he takes us, like we should be like palm trees and cedars of Lebanon. And he plants us in his own garden with his loving care. And that's what reminded me of that, because I had never thought about that way before. Like, and then what does a gardener do when you're planted? If you're a plant in a garden, that gardener takes loving care of like tomatoes, and waters it. And like, it's okay. I got you. You're going to grow here. It's almost like you left Christian music and you were touring with the Jonas Brothers. And that was how God planted you in his garden and watered you.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, like what opening myself up to different places and trusting that God was going to meet me there and that he was
yeah.
there already, and not be so, yeah, not even trying to control that environment, like just kind of show up and be like, okay, where are you, like what are you doing here? To answer your question, yes, I sang backgrounds. I did a show called The Sing Off on NBC. It was like this little acapella show that I literally had never done acapella in my life. Neither did anybody else in my group. We were just a bunch of Nashville, like, singing nerds that just got together and did this show. And then I toured with another artist named Hosier, and I just kind of was saying yes and just kind of, and then saying no when I felt like a no. And
you were in your 20s, young.
Yeah, 20s.
That's what you're supposed to do
30s.
during that time of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. And I also was a nanny.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes. That was like the first thing I did, because I was like, what would I have been doing when I was, a teenager? And I was like, babysitting. I love babies. So I nannied for a little while, and, I was just kind of like, just trying to find God in different places, I guess.
Rachel, I feel like I skipped over something in our conversation, and I hope, can I go back? Permission to go back? Okay. Yeah. Was there like a moment that made you just say, because you said the bravest thing was leaving your label. Was there a thing? Was there like a moment? Was it just like a year-long was it just like because I don't know. I don't know what it feels like to be associated with a label, because it's not like you quit your job at Wiener Schnitzel or something. You're like, I'm out today. It wasn't,
yes.
What was there a moment that you're like, I can't do this anymore, I need to take a break?
Not that I can place in my brain. I know. So my older brother, Ryan, he walked very closely with me through this whole thing. He was my tour manager and just my roommate, he was just always with me. And so.
Is your older brother?
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I think just through long conversations, long period of time, trying to figure out what was wrong, I think that we both kind of came to that conclusion. But in my head, there's no moment, but you're kind of making me want to go ask him and see if there's a moment, because it's true. So much about this song that I have out right now is about revisiting that girl, that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old girl. And trying to remind her that she was loved, even in those moments of where I was just like, I don't know what's going on anymore. And, I don't feel very loved. I don't feel very paid attention to, that God was actually moving just as much as he always was.
Because did you feel like there was because I know what it's like to work in Christian industry on the radio side, and it can be pretty brutal when it comes to, the criticism and the unattainable ideal.
Totally.
And was that part of what a young teenage girl had to deal with? That when you say that there were moments or it got hard, what was it that was hard?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think there was one side of it was the pressure and the expectation to not wear a tank top.
Oh, my God.
Right?
I know. You're like, I'm hot.
I'm super hot. And yes, I have shoulders and armpits.
Yes. Thank you. I know.
We've come a long way.
Yes, we have. Thank you.
Yes. So there were those little things where I was just like, oh gosh, I'm like, I can't get it right, And then there were big things where I'd be in a writing room, writing a song about my parents' divorce, something really big and present, and have, someone, bigger and more powerful than me sit across from me and be like either laugh at me for a lyric idea or kind of talk over me and bulldoze and be like, yeah, well, but so there were these moments where I got silenced a lot, and I got, I felt small and I had to shrink. And so it was kind of a lot of, and then you just factor in that you're an awkward 16, 17-year-old that every single young person goes through this, whether they're on a mic or on camera or whatever, or not, it's just part of the growing stuff and the journey. But,
I still go through that too, especially as a woman in this industry.
Yes.
And then 25 years of radio in this industry and me still feeling like I have to prove my point sometime. I'm like, I have more experience than you.
Yes, I know. And you're like learning how to like, how to like.
It's an art form.
It is. It's an art form. And I think as women, I think we do like, we do end up like sharpening so many, or, like flexing so many muscles, like in so many more than, our counterparts, because we are expected to stay gentle and stay, and all of that. And I think sometimes you just need, you either need to kind of like shut it down for a second or get mean, which, hey,
I just don't anymore. I just
right.
I've just said, well, that's not me. So
yes,
because, that's why I started Get Your Brave On.
I love that.
Because I became a single mom very suddenly in the middle of the night when my kids were 4, 2, and 8 weeks old.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was working a morning radio show in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I thought, well, how can I even, they're going to like kick me out. And I thought life was going to be over. But it wasn't because I decided instead of, I gave into fear for a while.
For sure.
I mean, I was still nursing and wearing maternity pants. So some fear.
Gosh.
So, but I figured then I don't know where in that journey I came across Joshua 1:9 as a reminder. And I noticed the word command in it. Have I not commanded you, declares the Lord, to be strong and courageous? And I thought, that's not an option.
Right.
And it doesn't say, if you're a man, I command you. If you're a woman, you can be like meek.
Right.
Haven't found that verse anywhere.
No. Don't think it's there.
No, but I've been called to be a warrior and I a cedar of Lebanon, someone that's very strong and resistant to infestation. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to be brave.
And I think we get to, and I think we get to show the world that there are different versions of strong and courageous and brave, that it's not this like volcano all the time. Sometimes strong and brave is a beautiful stream, and it's not this like, and I think sometimes it is a volcano, but I think I think that's one of the biggest gifts like we have to give to, is to just be like, hey, there's other versions of being
brave.
Yeah.
I took like all these notes about, when you go back to when you're sitting in those writing rooms and you're writing music and you're like, I just want to write about my experience.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with, talking about your parents' divorce in a lyric, like going back to talk to that girl now.
Yeah.
Like if you, Rachael, now could go back to that girl in that writing room.
Yeah.
What would you have told her to do differently?
I think I would have said that, I think a big, again, like this song that I wrote is like, it's literally saying like, you don't have to be anything that you're not to be loved and to be right in this moment and to be, and to be holy or whatever it is, like, because you're loved by God, you should love yourself too. If you're trying to be Christ-like, it's like he loves you, you should love you. If he likes you, you should maybe like you. And I think like I think I was so caught up in being humble and again like meek and like easygoing, and this whole thing. And it's like and I think back to like, being Christ-like. It's like Jesus was a strong person that had a voice and that liked the things that the outcasts liked and that the voiceless loved. And I think he sided so much more with that, And so I would say, I would just tell her like, lean into that thing that is that wants to come out of you, because that thing is blessed. Like that thing is loved, and it belongs in the world.
And there's a reason why he planted it there and watered that part of
Yes.
you, because he wanted it to grow.
Right.
Which is what you're doing. I am obsessed with Perfectly Loved.
Oh, thank you.
I really am. I was like, did she like read my journal?
Ooh, even when you were running, even when you were hiding, never been a moment that you were not perfectly loved. When you
Is that the situation that just happened?
Gosh.
I mean, let's go more into that song. I'm sure.
Right.
I mean, it's great. You know, I think some of my favorite lyrics just start off at the beginning. You know, you slay me from the beginning. Who said that you weren't beautiful? And I think when women hear that lyric, we can think of several people that did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, I imagine you probably went through that when you were doing photo shoots and videos and stuff.
Totally.
Who said that you weren't beautiful? And instantly you go, oh yeah, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And the next lyric, and that you didn't belong in your own skin.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't fit in the church anymore. And I became a single mom.
Yeah.
And then who said that you were all alone? Like, oh, that's right. You know, even then people, we felt abandoned, but God never does. And that you were never going to find love again.
Oh
that's the one that made
me cry. I know. Just hearing somebody read that back to me is making me like,
really?
So much. Yes.
You wrote those lyrics, right? These are your lyrics. I know.
Sorta.
Yeah. Okay. A team. And I was like, I'd love to go into that process, because I was like, how does she know? Because then I thought, you know, my mission is, you know, I talk to everyone. I just have a huge heart for single moms, just because I understand what it feels like.
Totally.
And I remember that line, and that you're never going to find love again.
Wow.
I remember having 3 kids under 4, being single. I'm like, I can't like go on a dating app. Like, and I did. And I remember trying, and I remember people saying, you know, you talk to people on dating apps and they'd be like, so many kids do you have? 3? How old are they? They're like 7 and 5 and 4. And like, oh, well, what's your like custody situation? Kind of have them all the time, you know. That it was like, not going to hear from that guy again. And I really did. Like, I was like, but I have love. I have found love, and everything's okay. So
yes.
I mean, who said that you weren't beautiful and that you didn't belong in your own skin? Who said that you were all alone and that you were never going to find love again? This is a grown woman, Rachael Lampa, doing this. Tell me about what you experienced writing that song, and what you want people to, like me, to experience as we hear it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The reason why I get so emotional is because I'm so glad that people are finding themselves in that story, because the origination of these lyrics I wrote while I was doing prison work and jail work with women in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know who knows that part of the story. And so basically up until I wrote this, until COVID, which was right when we wrote this song, I was in our local women's jail almost 5 days a week with my nonprofit that me and my family run. And it's called The Wild Ones. And so we go into the jail and we kind of run this program, but mostly we just show up and we create community and walk alongside and just say we're here. And then another part of it is the Wild Ones part is that our friend Amanda McKeehan, who is Toby Mac's wife,
I know.
she teaches the Bible to the women in prison, and she teaches about the wild ones of the Bible and how Jesus was one of the wildest ones, you know, and about finding yourself in the story somewhere, in the whole this unfolding story of Jesus, and hearing these women's stories and about the things that they did and the things that they had to do, and that I will personally attest to the fact that they had to do them, you know, and which has landed them where they are at this moment. And some are in for a long time, some are going to get out really soon. But all these stories had this thread. It was just like, I couldn't help but be just so like overwhelmed by like God's love for them in those places, in those dark places that they had to revisit to try to heal. It was like, just, there were so many times where they were like, this is where I screwed up. Like, this is where I messed the whole thing up forever, for my whole life. And to be able to go from that over time, and for them to come out and be like, no, actually, I totally believe you. I believe that God loved me the whole time, and it's like, and it's back to that same thing where it's like, God loves you and you can too. And you can tell that person, you can tell that teenager, you can tell little Rachel at 21, like, you're fine. You are okay. Like,
Just be you.
Yeah. You don't have to lift a finger anymore. You don't have to do anything anymore. You just rest in the child that you are, the child of God that you are. You are loved. Like, you will know what to do next. There was just so many beautiful moments. And so that's where that song started. And then when I started writing it, I realized, I was like, okay, I'm writing this to little me. I'm writing this to probably little Colleen, my sister. I'm writing it to little Carly, Andrew Rip's wife, who I wrote it with. Like, I'm writing it to like all of our, inner children, and us now too. I think we all just need to be reminded, like, about that part of the story.
Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong. It feels like your song Perfectly Loved is a love song, woman to woman. That sounds weird. It's like Girl, I Got You. Yeah. Like a together, like the different kind of love song. Yeah. It's like, I want, that's beautiful.
Like, I see you there. Like, I get it. Like, I get why you had to do these things. And I get that, like, that you felt far from God. And like, there's no way that if you get to know anybody, this is kind of a saying, I think it's kind of cliche, but like, if you get to know anybody, you can't hate them. Like, if you really know their story, it's impossible to hate somebody or to judge them. And so I think when you are willing to see the child in them, and especially woman to woman, when you're willing to see a broken little girl inside of every woman, a lot of love can be exchanged. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think it is a love song.
Is that why you wanted to go 5 days a week to work in prisons?
I could not
like, why?
Stay away.
Why?
It was, I think, well, I felt seen too. Like, I felt healed too. I think that just as much. It was the main group. It was me and my sister-in-law and Amanda. And we had lots of volunteers and stuff come in and out, but it was this total healing process, because we sat in the circles and we talked about our lives just as much as we asked anybody else to talk about their lives. And just to watch, like, God's love just kind of rest over all of us, at once, and make us one, and not like this, we're on one side of the, wall,
right,
you're on the other
like
side of the
us
wall.
Versus them.
Right. It was just like such a oneness of people with some very different lives and different circumstances.
And I bet, Amanda, she had lost Truett after this or before this?
During.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Her son, Brave Babes, Toby Mac's wife, Amanda McKeehan, we're talking about her there. They had lost their son, Truett, suddenly.
Yes.
And tragically, I imagine her being in there.
Yeah.
I can see why that would be comforting for her.
Yes. And, it's insane how, like, how much part of the story God intertwined, like, these women with Amanda. We were literally in a class and actually Truett lived with my little brother and sister. Oh. And so that's where it happened. So it was at my family's house. So she went home, or she went to their house, and it was just this whole moment. And I think, Amanda came back when she finally came back, which, took some time. She came in and she said, you know what, where you are is a gift, because she was like, I would give anything for Truett to just be in jail, and not what happened. And so there's a huge story being written, and there's nobody discounted from it. And I got to have a front row seat to what that looked like in that moment.
Why are we perfectly loved? What if there's someone in one of my brave babes listening right now? She's like, you don't know what I did, or you don't know what somebody did to me.
Right. I think, man, yeah, that's a good point right there. I think what happened on the cross, and what happened when Jesus promised us that it's done, that it's finished. We have to enjoy the mystery of how that math works, how it doesn't work. Because I think the more we ask why, I think it's okay to ask why. And actually, I think a lot of times when I'm asking why, I'm just kind of more like resting in God's arms and being like, what? Like, why, Dad? You know, why, Mom? Like, you know, how, the way that, like, because I have a 5-year-old. Yeah. And he just kind of, you know, there's so many whys.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I have teenagers now. So yeah. Now I'm the one that's asking the whys.
All the time. Like, what? Oh no, I'm not ready for that. Now, that's amazing. And probably on both sides, there's no answer. There's really no answer. Like with my guy, I'm just like, you know what, bud? I don't know, but I'll be right here and we can try to go figure it out, you know?
Good.
And
Let's Google.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when we start asking like, why are we loved? Like, why is this true? I think we just use that as an opportunity to rest in God's arms, and just like a parent. Yeah.
So you really want people to feel perfectly loved, but do you think there are a lot of people right now that don't feel perfectly loved by the church?
A billion.
How do we handle that? I feel that too. I mean, I'm personally, like, I'm struggling it within my own household of my own teenagers.
Right. Yes.
You know, because looking at things that the Gen Zs believe in, and equality and fairness and understanding and compassion and all those things. And then, you know, they went through tough things in the pandemic of things that were said, and they're like, but I don't know what
to do now.
They're all hard pass.
Yeah. Right.
And
rightfully so. Right.
Yeah. And I'm part of me is like, the whys get deeper.
They do get deeper.
But what can we do, Rachel? Like because I truly believe that God equips women very specially to make others feel loved. Like that's our gift.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and
so what you're doing is you're serving in, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I think what you just said is it. I think that there's enough evidence biblically and in my soul, like in my experience with God, with walking with the Lord, that if any of my ideals or theories or interpretations of knowledge that I may have gathered about faith or about who God is, if that's going to trump love, if that's going to love for someone, if that's going to get in the way of loving somebody, I'm going to have to question that. I'm going to have to move that out of the way. Yeah. I think that it is just a priority to see people and to love people as best as we can, as most like Jesus as we can. Mm-hmm. And even if that's whether that's somebody outside of the church or inside of the church, that's my newest trial right now.
Yeah, I know.
With that whole thing.
I'm with you right there. It's like you're on a personal mission to make people feel loved. And you started with a song, but really you started with your prison ministry, Wild Ones. I like that. And then is that affiliated with your People Loving Nashville too? Yes. Is that the kind of the same thing? Yep. It's kind of just another piece of the puzzle with People Loving Nashville. People Loving Nashville is kind of the umbrella. And then but your favorite part is going into that's incredible. That's right. Girl, I'm so excited for you. I'm really inspired. So let's get a little bit deeper about I think maybe there's a connection between love and bravery.
Yes.
Because I think if you truly felt like the lyrics to your song, about being perfectly loved.
Yeah.
If you truly felt perfectly loved, like, which is the truth, but if you fully understood it and you lived it, I think you and we could make more brave decisions.
Yes. Yes.
Right? What do you think about if you're young Rachael Lampa, if you're young Rachel, if you're like, you're perfectly loved, what brave things would she have done?
Oh my gosh, right? If I was operating of a place, this is
like, if you know what you know now, right?
Right. Oh my gosh. If I was operating from a place of coming from love, if everything just came from being loved rather than for love, where I'm like trying to reel in love.
Yes.
It's like, what a great way to be set up. I mean, so mothers out there, like if we can set up our kids to that they just have everything, they know beyond the shadow of doubt that they are loved exactly where they are. Mm-hmm. The moves that they would make from beyond that, I can't even imagine. But I would also say, if you didn't have that kind of upbringing, if you did feel really fearful and maybe unloved, and you're like trying to rebuild this foundation, I've realized lately how closely intertwined, just even like physically in my body, like, but also in the actual Bible with actual words, fear and wonder, how closely intertwined those things are. That's been a huge thing for me. Once I had my little guy, he's 5 now. So like 5 years ago, I started having like a lot of fear of lots of weird, like catastrophic things. And I think a lot of moms probably have felt this, but like, just freak things happening. I had this like thing come over me, and I realized halfway through the pandemic, I was like, it's crazy how the same feelings that I get when I'm really pumped and excited and almost full of wonder is this sort of the same feeling that I have when I'm scared, when I'm fearful, and how interchangeable, maybe those things are interchangeable. Maybe when I'm super, super fearful, and I'm like, well, what if that plane, crashes into my house, and, but there's that kind of what if, but then there's also like a, what if this happened, there's that kind of what if too.
Like, what if I came back after taking this long hiatus?
Yeah. Yes.
And I had a number one song. Instead of thinking, what if I came back and failed? Mm-hmm. Ooh, it's like the wonder what if. It's like, what if I wrote a book?
Yeah.
And it became a bestseller.
Exactly.
Or I think and so many times the what ifs can be right. You're right. Fear focus, because we're like, oh, what if I royally mess this up?
Totally.
But what if you don't?
Totally. Oh my God. Oh,
right. Yeah. Just like start to believe.
Yeah.
That it's like, it's going to work out.
Yes.
Because you're perfectly loved.
Yes.
So even if you fail at something you try, that worked out.
It did. Right.
Because you're perfectly loved and you learned something.
You moved through something and with God, like you spent time with the Lord. Like my brother, this is an example of this, like a few weeks ago, my brother was taking his 3 kids on the river out here. And I was checking the weather because I'm worrying, and it was crazy. And there was a crazy storm out there. And I literally iPhoned him and I found where he was. And I just started driving towards him and I texted him and I was like, I'm coming to get you guys. I know it's a storm. I know, blah, blah. And he finally texted me back and he was like, he was like, yeah, it was like the best adventure of our lives. Like those boys were in heaven. They loved it. We went and found a shelter and we like built this thing. And I was like, oh yeah, there's also that side of things, Fear so it's
and
like,
wonder.
Yeah, like some of the things that we want to just escape could actually be like this great adventure and this great memory and this like thing that can really stick in us, that we intercept a little bit. So
I think personally, if I can be personally vulnerable here. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think, like you, my parents got divorced when I was a child.
Yep.
And I think I feared what if that would happen to me, and it did. And then I look back now on my single mom life and I was like, that was kind of cool.
Yes.
You know, because
Yeah.
it was like, I bought my own house,
Yes, you did.
you know, like on my own. And
you
know,
have this voice right now at this very moment that means something to a lot of women because they know you've been through it. They know you've seen the dark.
Like I'm convinced that your worst thing that ever happens to you, easily God perfectly loves you so much that he will turn it around to be the best.
Yes.
Because I never would be doing any of this stuff if that hadn't have happened.
Right.
And he'll do the same thing for you too. Whatever it is, you are perfectly loved in the midst of it, and he will make it work out for you where you can be like, oh yeah, the worst thing that happens to me is not really that bad at all. It becomes the best when you lean into God and you say, okay, God, I'm not going to give into fear. Yeah. I'm going to be strong and courageous because you promise you go with me wherever you go.
Yes.
Wherever we go, because we're not alone in it.
I love that.
So have you ever thought about, like, do you mentor young women in the industry? Like, I'm hoping like there's like a text thread between you and Ann Wilson right now or something. Like, can you be like, hey, I've been there, and like, do you mentor women like that or have interest in that?
I'd say maybe unofficially that's sort of happening a little bit. I have this beautiful text thread with Tori Kelly and this girl Sydney from Echo Smith that we would kind of we would encourage each other and kind of send each other little updates and little verses and stuff like that. That was the last official time, but I would say unofficially right now, through like People Loving Nashville, through just writing and working together, just being like the older girl now. Yeah. I always was like the one that people poured into. I was like the little, the little cutie that everybody just wanted to help. Mm-hmm. And so now it's fun to be.
You can be the water.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that Miranda Lambert, I think it was Miranda Lambert, mm-hmm. and a lot of female country artists have a text thread that they communicate to each other, and they talk about issues like wardrobe issues and stage issues and like being a woman in the industry and like telling sound people and stage people what to do and encouraging each other. I was like, that's so cool.
That is very cool.
I'm so curious if there's a Christian music industry version of that female text thread.
I bet they exist. I bet they exist for sure.
We need to get on. No.
Yes. I'm like, okay, I'm inspired. I'm going to start reaching out right now.
Or, find Miranda around Franklin, Tennessee or something.
Yes.
And is there a woman in the industry that you haven't met now that you're at this stage? Is there someone that you're like, do you still have that mentor that's pouring into you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it has changed a little bit over the years. There have been, seasons and after season, but truly Amy Grant has been a voice that just has kind of stayed really steady. I mean, and I still get like that where I'm just like I'm like melty.
I know. Amy,
yeah.
It's Amy.
I know. Oh my gosh, a couple of years ago we did this Christmas tour and she put my hair in rollers and I was like, you're putting my hair in rollers.
No, I would have been like, what's happening?
like it is, and it was just such a sweet, just like to have somebody slow down their life enough to do something like that, and like that's just such like a gesture. And she told me some beautiful, amazing things, which I also wrote down. But I think just sitting there, like it zoned out, just being like loved on like that is such a like powerful thing. And
by a legend.
Yes, by a legend. Yeah. And then we write together and we perform together and we do a lot of things together, but it's just always like, there's always like this feeling of intention and time and focus. And like when she's around, and she's just like one of a kind.
Yeah. Pass along my love. Like one time I got to interview her.
Oh, yes.
And it was one of my favorite conversations ever. And I just remember the way that she talked. It was just like, everything was she's like, I was talking. I'm trying to do my Amy Grant voice. I'm going to run it. I was talking to this cowboy.
That's it. You kind of got it.
This cowboy, he said to me, Amy, if you look around at life and there's things that are not serving you, maybe you ought to rethink your life. Something like that,
That was really good. When you said life, was
it Amy? I was just like, oh, yes, ma'am. And then I remember she was telling me about a year that she did no spending for sport. I just went through it. I did no spending for sport.
Oh my gosh.
I wore the clothes in my closet. I read the books that I had.
Oh my gosh.
For a whole year. I'm
amazing.
like, yeah. I was like, yes, Amy. Yes.
You're like, yes, writing that down too.
Anyway, sorry for my Amy Grant.
Oh, nope. Do not apologize for that.
Well, I know that I'm taking a ton of your time, but I also want to know, you went from, a young teenage star background to healed. And then I think it's so beautiful that you served. So you got your brave on by doing those things. And now you're a mother, and my good friend's Corey Mann, and I know you were on his podcast a couple of weeks ago. So I know that there's more motherhood around the corner.
There's a bun in the oven.
And why did you wait until like 6 months to make this public?
Truthfully.
Are you like super private? Yeah.
No, I'm not super private. I had so much fun messing with people. I just thought it was so funny. Just watching people squirm. Like I had
like they didn't want to ask. Oh
yeah. It was just too good. It was too funny.
You're like, wow, those pancakes were good for breakfast.
Yes. I was like, it's been a snacky summer for me. I don't know.
So Rachel's expecting again her second child. So what's your vision for your motherhood? What kind of, how are you gonna teach your son and maybe a daughter? I don't know. We don't know. Or
two boys.
Two boys.
It's a boy. Yeah.
Lucky mama.
I know. I love it. I love being with
So, we talk a lot about, your song and kind of reaching back to young Rachel.
Yep.
What would you say now to say you're my age and you've got teenagers, like what do you want to, how are you going to make your future self proud?
I love that. I think a big thing, in parenting especially, is to make sure that Jax, my 5-year-old, and whatever my new baby's name is, maybe you guys could pray for that name. Kind of running out of time. Is that they feel valued, that they are of eternal value, and like God has promised us, like that I make a really big deal out of like not finishing his sentences, not interrupting him, like letting him speak and like really listening and really hearing him and letting him, in any way I can, which is so freaking fun. Like, it's so fun to be that person in his life,
Yeah.
Because I know that as he grows older, like he can feel, he can have love for himself and in that, like, encounter God's love in a real way.
Yep.
And not in a way that is like, well, my mom said this, so but I will tell him that. Yeah,
boys are special. I have 2 daughters and a son.
Aww.
My son's my middle, he's 14.
Oh,
and I still, like, he got in trouble at school yesterday.
Yeah.
And he has enough trust in me that he will call me and tell me what happened first. Be like, Mama, I was like, okay, you told me, like, I get you through. So I think the goal, if I were to talk to myself early at your age, I would have been like, listen, you want to love them enough right now so that when they get in trouble, they know they can call you without getting, and you will help instead of get mad or get angry. Like, seriously, is that like,
yes.
Do
I
that.
I want that. I want them to tell me all of their secrets.
Yes. And be so great. Now I'm competing with his girlfriend. So that's,
ooh,
I know.
That's another podcast.
I know. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you would like to share to the Brave Babes? Or you wanted to share or talk about that was on your heart?
I don't think so. I feel so kindred with you. I feel like we are very similar people. So I could probably talk forever. So I should probably.
I could too. And that's what I was like, I know we love long conversations, but when you look at a time of a podcast, people are like, how long is that? But so in last message, if you were to talk to a woman listening right now who's faced, I call it a plot twist in life. Relationship change, job change, just plain lost, whatever it is. They're facing a plot twist, struggling with feeling perfectly loved.
Yeah.
And maybe like you were that young girl and you finally gave up that recording contract or trying to make a decision to move forward in their life and choose instead of giving into fear, give into wonder and decide to get their brave on. Yeah. What would you say to encourage them to make that decision?
Yeah. I would say, don't give into what the world says is the next move. It can only be what you feel, inside and God is inside. He's in there. So trust yourself and trust God in you. And sometimes that doesn't look like slamming on the gas. Sometimes it looks like major slowdown and major pause. Jesus walked away a lot, to go get quiet and to hit the brakes for a second before the next move. So yeah, plot twists. I would say, and I think my therapist husband would agree, would say don't hit the gas. I would say go to your quiet place and go talk to God in you.
I like that. It's like never get bangs after a breakup.
Amen.
Basically.
A to the men.
Yes. I'm so thankful for you. And so are we going to get more music? Are we getting a new album? Yes. Are we getting some stuff from Rachael Lampa?
Yeah, we've got songs. We definitely have songs. We have not made the big plan, the big official plan, but we've got songs to get. So
I'd love a book about your story. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Give me your manager's phone number.
Right. I know. I'm like, I hope my ADHD could do that someday.
Well, thank you so much for the podcast. I think we are all good. I love you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Definitely. Thank you.
So glad she's back. If you want to connect with Rachael, you can find her on Insta at Rachael Lampa or go to RachelLampamusic.com. Her new song, Perfectly Loved with Toby Mac, streaming on radio stations, Mine 103.9 The Fish in Sacramento, and also on Spotify. Just search Perfectly Loved, Rachael Lampa. And I'd love to connect with you too. If you listen to this podcast and you thought, you know what, I want to be brave, I just don't know how. It's okay. It's not your fault. You just haven't had the right structure in place to boot up your bravery every single morning. I am now sharing with you the routine I do every single morning to boot up my bravery. It takes you 30 minutes. I have a whole plan written down for you, a video that goes with it to walk you through step by step how to live a more strong and courageous life one morning at a time. Download it for free at getyourbraveon.info. I want to say thank you so much to the support of my friends at lifeaudio.com.